Next on KPBS Evening Edition, fire-ravaged hillsides, homes burning one after another, with residents on the run. We'll take you to LA County, plus show you the concern and power outages here at home. Governor Newsom takes aim at gun regulations, the sweeping legislation, and its impact here in our county. And a new report says cleaning up San Diego's homeless problem will cost billions of dollars. Where do we go from here? KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Friday, October 11th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We begin tonight with breaking news. Wildfires burning to the north of us in Riverside and LA counties. Massive fires destroying homes and forcing at least 100,000 people from their homes. Not to mention traffic nightmares. While here in San Diego, warm, windy weather still a concern for wildfires. Some areas seeing their power shut off as a precaution. First, let's go to Kelly Smoot for more on the fires.
These weather conditions are significant.
Wildfires and the threat of wildfires has California residents.
I've never been so terrified in my whole life.
And officials on high alert throughout the state.
We are definitely in a window where fire activity is taking place.
In Southern California, the Saddle Ridge fire exploded Thursday night just north of Los Angeles and continues to grow.
We've calculated that the fire is moving at a rate of 800 acres per hour.
Around 100,000 people in the surrounding neighborhoods are under mandatory evacuation orders. The fire has already destroyed dozens of homes in the area. About 70 miles east of LA, the Sandalwood fire also broke out Thursday, burning hundreds of acres. And in Northern California,
all of our lights went out.
Utility company Pacific Gas and Electric had to apologize over its controversial decision to preemptively cut power to hundreds of thousands of customers this week in an effort to prevent a wildfire.
We simply could not continue to run parts of this system given the risk to public safety.
Earlier this year, PG&E reached a settlement for its role in the 2018 Camp Fire, saying it was probable the fire was sparked after a power line touched nearby trees. The fire was the deadliest in California history. California officials do not want to repeat.
We've been able to stave off some of the worst as it relates to wildfires, but we're not out of the woods.
I'm Kelly Smoot reporting.
And here in San Diego, SDG&E also had to cut power to residents, but significantly less than our neighbors up north. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman went to East County to see how it's affecting businesses. He's here now with details. Matt?
Yeah, Maya, with conditions ripe for a wildfire, SDG&E warned as many as 30,000 customers may have had their power shut off. But as it turns out, only around 400 customers are without power right now. The southeastern San Diego County communities of Boulevard and Live Oak Springs were hit the hardest by these outages. We were actually there today, as you can see behind us. We spoke to a couple small business owners who are trying to cope with the situation.
No power. No gas. No gas, no power, no gas. Yeah.
The Live Oak Springs market says its power was shut off around 9 p.m. last night.
We cancel nothing. We have no power.
Today the market was open, but food was starting to spoil.
The other freezer's frozen food. That one. And the other over there in the corner is ice cream. Like cheese and meat and some stuff and milk. All milk here.
Store owner Sam Matthews says a lot of money is on the line.
All? Yeah. Around 30,000. I don't know why it's here. I have no idea. We keep calling, and everybody say something else. There's some more safety for windy, and there is mile from here, less than mile. They have power and the same wind in same area. I don't know why it's only this area. I have no idea.
Matthew would like to get a backup generator, but
I need one like big one. It costs a lot of money. I don't have this much money to buy it.
Most businesses in this area do not use backup generators. This one has a small one, but it's just powering the credit card machine. Inside this market and restaurant, there's no power, which means food is starting to go bad. As you can see, all of the lights are out in here, and businesses are wondering why these power outages are specifically targeting them.
I'm paid the bills, okay, and here is safe. It's nothing dangerous. Okay, why cut the power and 2 miles you have the power? I'm not understand that. Okay, behind me is 1.5 miles, you have power. Okay, and this area is all closed. Come in. This here is be losing everything here.
Matthew Niso has been turning away customers at his market and restaurant.
Wait, is this where we get food? Yeah. Are you guys closed because of the power?
Well, yeah.
He also says food is spoiling.
All be losing here because it's hot now. And here, all of them. Milk, this, all of them.
And his store has a lot of ice cream.
This 1, 2, 3, 4 freezers. Let's be losing.
Niso also has thousands of dollars worth of product on the line.
I think almost $12,000, plus the business today and yesterday.
Like many others, these two small businessmen are just waiting for the lights to come on.
We need power and that's it.
Even if shut down, if you have problem for 2 hours, 3 hours, it's okay, no problem. Right. You don't have problem for 2 hours, 3 hours. Not all day.
SDG&E chooses these specific areas because it says that they are at the highest risk for a wildfire. Some good news, though. The utility says that the area's power should be back on around 7 p.m. Now, if that happens, these owners say they should be able to save some of their food. Any longer, though, they'll be in serious trouble. SDG&E says businesses are able to file claims for damages due to their power being shut off. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And this dry, windy weather is not helping with wildfire dangers anywhere in Southern California. But is relief in sight? Meteorologist Lauren Rainson is here with more.
Earlier, we did have all those red flag warnings in place with that fire danger still out there as you're heading into Friday evening. Your AccuWeather local Stormax gusts up to 65 miles per hour. That's exactly what we've been seeing earlier. Highland Springs reported 61 miles per hour. Into Devil Canyon, just shy of 60 miles per hour. Winds have been blasting anywhere from 50 all the way up to 65 miles per hour occasionally, but this incredibly dangerous combination of it's dry, but also very windy, and it's warm. As we head into Saturday, that's when the wind will begin to ease up just a bit. I'll have your extended weekend outlook in a few minutes.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed a package of 15 bills today aimed at gun violence protections. Some of the highlights of the bills include strengthening gun violence restraining orders, regulating ghost guns to mitigate the use of untraceable firearms by criminals, and prohibiting the sale of firearms and ammunition at the Del Mar Fairgrounds starting next year.
And I really appreciate the deep representation that is exampled here by two local leaders that are state leaders in the gun safety space, having the back of your community, and I'm very likely to support that commitment to public safety.
And local Assemblyman Todd Gloria pushed for the Del Mar gun and ammunition ban. Former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords praised California's efforts, calling our state a leader in the fighting the threat of gun violence. And a new bill signed by Governor Gavin Newsom today bans the use of private prisons and immigration detention centers in California, the first such ban in the country. AB 32 prevents the state from entering into or renewing contracts with companies who profit from prisons after the new year. A large majority of immigrants detained for deportation are held in for-profit facilities. One of the largest facilities is in Otay Mesa, run by CoreLogic. The bill started out as a ban on private prisons, but was amended to include immigration detention centers. Critics of the bill say it could cost California more than $100 million per year, saying private prisons cost less to house inmates than state prisons. And San Diego needs nearly $2 billion over the next decade to make progress in its fight to reduce homelessness. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says that's the conclusion of a new report to be discussed by the City Council on Monday.
Mayor Kevin Faulconer's homeless plan has been in the works for about a year. It says the city needs a surge in shelter beds to get people off the streets and some 5,400 additional homes with subsidized rents and supportive services. Keely Halsey, the mayor's chief of homelessness strategies, says the plan is built to withstand political changes in the city.
It's not a glossy PR piece that's meant to make everybody feel better. This is a plan that is an instruction sheet for this administration and for following administrations to carry out.
The plan aims to cut in half the number of unsheltered homeless in San Diego and end homelessness among veterans and youth. All that will cost a lot more money than what the city currently has, says Lisa Jones of the San Diego Housing Commission.
It models out what type of interventions are needed and what the scale of those interventions are and what that cost is going to be. So we have very hard numbers to really work towards now.
San Diegans will vote in March on a hotel tax measure that would provide some money for homelessness programs. Additionally, a property tax measure proposed for the November 2020 ballot would raise close to $1 billion for permanent affordable housing. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Retired Marine raiders are watching the headlines as events unfold in Syria. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says they sympathize with those who believe the Kurds have been abandoned.
Raiders from Camp Pendleton are among the 50 or so special operations forces pulled from the region, now under attack by Turkish forces. According to a spokesperson for 1st Marine Division, they had been providing training and air support for the Kurds. Brian Buckley is a retired raider who works with the Marine Raider Foundation and runs Battle Brothers, which works with Marines transitioning to civilian life. He said Marines are watching the headlines.
If you start seeing land that you've helped these people work to take, and they're building up their security forces and are getting ready to go, and then you leave and perhaps something tragic might happen to them, you're a human being. You're just going to feel terrible about that.
Buckley served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other locations around the globe. He says he's torn on whether President Trump's decision to abruptly pull U.S. special forces from the Syrian border with Turkey was a betrayal of America's Kurdish allies.
What if we lose another U.S. military member over there? What do you say to their parents? Well, if we pulled out, we would be training some of those people over there. They might be like, well, maybe I feel kind of betrayed because why were they there in the first place? What were they doing? What was the end state? Can you give me an answer? And I've had to sit in those rooms with parents and wives when you have to explain things when their loved one is coming back.
Secretary of Defense Mark Esper defended the president's action Friday, saying the president objected to the Turkish army crossing into Syria. Friday, there were reports of an explosion near a U.S. Special Operations base in northern Syria, but no U.S. troops were harmed. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Over in El Cajon, the Kurdish community is also responding to the situation in Syria. During a rally today, the community expressed outrage over the decision to pull out of Syria. They're worried Turkish forces are now killing Kurdish civilians. The secretary of the local Kurdish community center is calling for a no-fly zone over Kurdish-controlled cities in Syria.
Their children, they should live in their dreamland, they have this, they're just a child. They shouldn't go through that.
The Trump administration has said it will crack down on Turkey if it finds that it's acting inhumanely in Syria. More troops are headed to Saudi Arabia, about 1,500 of them. There are a couple of reasons for this latest deployment. First, U.S. officials say the leading U.S. military commander in the Middle East made this request several weeks ago after a devastating attack in September on Saudi oil facilities that the U.S. has attributed to Iran. But the most recent push to send more troops has to do with a problem with a U.S. Navy ship that was supposed to send a relief aircraft carrier to the area. That aircraft carrier has apparently had some maintenance issues. Not only that, the current carrier in the region is supposed to end its deployment in the next several days. 9 of the Democratic presidential candidates took part in a town hall last night focused on LGBTQ issues. The event, hosted by CNN and the Human Rights Campaign, brought some tough questions for the candidates. Kyung La reports.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
The first presidential candidate to identify publicly as gay before a historic LGBTQ town hall was paused by protesters highlighting transgender members of their community who have been murdered.
I do want to acknowledge what these demonstrators were speaking about, which is the epidemic of violence against black trans women in this country right now. And I believe, or would like to believe, that everybody here is committed to ending that epidemic, and that does include lifting up its visibility and speaking to it.
Unscripted moments forcing candidate response.
Black trans women are being killed in this country, and CNN, you have erased black trans women for the last time. Let me tell you something. Black trans women are dying. Our lives matter.
She grabbed the mic to stand up for herself and other trans women of color and trans men of color that she talked about as well. That's what democracy looks like in America.
Make sure that we create safe communities in which they can exist.
Stop killing us. How do we get those men to stop killing trans women of color? We are hunted.
I know.
Systematically
I know.
hunted. How do we do that?
There needs to be a safe place for the members of our transgender community to go when they have been exposed to that kind of harm, and we know there's not always a safe place.
Kamala Harris highlighted how, as a prosecutor, she fought and helped eliminate an anti-gay law. And Joe Biden pledged gay rights would impact international relations in his administration.
So a country like Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, same thing. By the way, they have very little social redeeming value. No, I've been blunt about it. I've been very, very blunt about it. Very blunt about it. I know they are supposed their ally and all the rest. I'm not saying, look, there's certain things that we cannot tolerate.
Cory Booker equated gay rights with all civil rights.
We are not free when we swear an oath, all of us swear an oath it will be a nation of liberty and justice for all. Those are aspirational words right now until every LGBTQ American has equal rights, and I will get the Equality Act passed and into law in our country.
A night of serious issues, but not without some levity.
And a supporter approaches you and says, Senator, I'm old-fashioned, and my faith teaches me that marriage is between one man and one woman. What is your response?
Well, I'm going to assume it's a guy who said that. And I'm going to say, then just marry one woman. I'm cool with that. Assuming you can find one.
There's very little daylight between these candidates when it comes to issues affecting the LGBTQ community, like passing the Equality Act, banning gay conversion therapy, expanding HIV care. This evening, a testament to the growing power of the LGBTQ vote in the 2020 election. Kyung La, CNN, Los Angeles.
This weekend, cyclists from all over the world will gather in Tijuana for an annual bike conference. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler spoke to organizers and cyclists about what makes this year's conference so special.
Sergio Garcia is a bike mechanic from Santa Barbara. This is the second Bike, or BCBC, conference that he's been to in Mexico.
It's very different than, a commercial bike conference, I think. It's a different environment, and I think we touch on a lot of social challenges and problems, and it's not just about bikes, but it's about reaching out to the community.
The conference will offer workshops for people interested in starting their own community bike shops, as well as other transit-related projects. Each workshop will be given simultaneously in both English and Spanish. The conference is centered around a new community bike shop that just opened in Tijuana, called Bicis Disidentes, or Dissident Bicycles. Workshops will take place in the bike shop and other community spaces nearby. Daniela Cortez moved from Mexico City to Tijuana 4 months ago to help start the bike shop. She said the whole goal of the shop and the conference is to highlight a different approach to border relations than the current politics coming out of Washington.
The importance to Tijuana in this critical moment because of what we're living through in immigration. We want to seem like a bridge, to rethink what the border means, so the bicycles are really just an excuse to say that the border will not be sold or separated. Tijuana is the point of this.
In the basement of Enclave Caracol, which is also home to a cafe and a legal service provider for migrants, the new bike shop will aim to help people in Tijuana access bikes at a low cost. The shop is also looking for donations of bikes from anyone that's coming down to the conference this weekend. Nacho Munoz is a mechanic at Bicis Disidentes and helped organize this year's BCBC, which changes location each year. He says this year's conference is a great opportunity for people on both sides of the border to not only learn about bikes, but just to learn more about their different cities.
It's a different way for us to get to know one another, to learn about the border, learn about the context, our worries, to live together for the weekend, eat together, party together. We're friends. We're neighbors.
The conference runs through Sunday.
True to Nacho's word about partying together, tomorrow night's workshops will end with a dance party. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
And of course, it's Friday, which means the weekend is here. Will this dry and hot weather be sticking around? Let's go to meteorologist Lauren Rainson for our weekend forecast.
Good evening. As we all know, not only has it been windy, it's been incredibly warm and dry, bone dry across California. Nothing to speak of here on the radar. Dew points are also struggling, but they will eventually climb as you're heading Saturday through Sunday, especially along the coastal areas here. That's where you're seeing those dew points bounce back into the 60s. A sure sign some moisture air is starting to push our way, and that's certainly going to help out those fires through the weekend. We're getting into Saturday, nothing but sun, very warm, a lot of widespread 80s there. The pattern as you're kicking off that new work and school week around the country, warm with some spotty showers and storms around the southeast, closer to home, the southwest region. Well, we're keeping warm, very quiet, a lot of sunshine. Here's your extended outlook along the coast. Day-to-day sun, highs in the low to middle 70s there, although we'll be a little bit on the cool side at night. Inland sunshine, lower 80 Saturday, little cooler Sunday, a high of around 80 Monday. Into the mountains, highs in the 60s, soaking up that sun, very chilly at night with lows in the 30s. Into the desert, also keeping dry, very hot Saturday, Sunday, upper 80s. Highs will remain in the upper 80s through early next week, middle to the end of next week, even talking about highs in the 90s. At night, you'll cool to the 60s. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Lauren Rainson. Back to you.
And we're here with SDSU marketing strategist and co-founder of Bottom Line Marketing, Miro Kopik. Welcome.
Thanks, Maya.
Now, one of the biggest stories this week is the NBA and China. What's at stake as the league tries to balance business and freedom of expression?
There's a lot at stake. And in the context of the current delicate relationship between the United States and China, this is just another major issue. And it all started last week when the general manager of the Houston Rockets tweeted support for the protests in Hong Kong. The commissioner, Adam Silver, supported it and the right of free speech of NBA players and its organization. And the Chinese government very swiftly reacted, potentially canceling games today. Luckily, they played a game yesterday between the Brooklyn Nets and the LA Lakers, but all the signage in the city of Shanghai was taken down. They blacked out a number of preseason basketball games. This puts the NBA a little bit on their heels because they're not quite sure what to do. They have a multi-decade relationship. There's hundreds of millions of dollars at stake, including player endorsements. They're in a no-win situation. They canceled all their press conferences so they don't have to address the issue. So this is a very delicate public relations issue that the NBA has found itself into. And in the context of the greater trade negotiations with China, it's a very interesting time for the U.S. and the NBA.
And back here at home, Horton Plaza, there's been talk about repurposing it into a tech hub, but lately one major brand is not going quietly. Can you tell us why Macy's is suing Stockdale, which is Horton Plaza's new owner?
Yeah, there's an interesting set of, this is a great thing for the city of San Diego. The city council is very excited. This tech hub is a $275 million investment by Stockdale Capital Partners. They want to convert Horton Plaza into a combination retail and office space. But the original lease and contracts state that the center has to be a prime first-class shopping retail center. And that's what Macy's is suing Stockdale Capital Partners, because that's not going to be the case. There's going to be more office space than retail space. The real issue is money. Right now, Macy's has a sweetheart deal. They pay 28 cents a square foot, and they only pay $457,000 in rent a year. And their lease is up in 2060. So if you just look at that, that's $18 million that if Stockdale wants to buy Macy's out, that they have to pay. The city and Stockdale really think this tech hub is going to be a big win for the city of San Diego. Hopefully they'll resolve the issue out of court before it goes to trial in June.
And we're in October, and many people are going to start thinking about holiday shopping already. One big brand that we all grew up with is trying to make a comeback with the help of Target. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Toys R Us, who went bankrupt at the end of 2017. They closed 800 stores last year. launched their new Toys R Us website. So the successor firm is looking to kind of re-emerge in the marketplace. Target last year, when Toys R Us went out of business, was probably invested the most in the toy business of all the major retailers. And so by really running the Toys R Us website, they're able to fulfill. And with their new relationship with Shipt, they can deliver toys the same day, within a day, or have consumers pick up toys at the Target stores. The winner really is Target, because they're going to be seen as helping Toys R Us. And Toys R Us, as a company, probably should ultimately own their own e-commerce infrastructure. So it's just an issue where Toys R Us says, how can I get started? How can I rebuild my brand? And I'm going to have Target to help me out.
Quite the comeback. Well, thank you
Quite
so
the
much,
comeback.
Mira Kopik from Bottom Line Marketing and STSU. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Maya.
Utilities cut off power to thousands to prevent wildfires. Tense negotiations over the Mission Valley Stadium site and the overwhelming number of car break-ins in San Diego. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.